Today I'm staying home because we are getting a new window for my home studio. I was a bad girl when we got this installed about, I don't know, 20 something years ago, and it rotted, so now we have to have it be replaced, and I'm not into it today, but we have to move stuff around. Oh, okay, good. Okay. So we have to move all these frames, and we have to take down the blinds. Remember, I keep talking, I talk a lot about how many frames we have and how it's like a frame cemetery. So I guess we'll just move them to the other side of the room. And we have to take the blinds down. Okay, so we'll need a ladder.
Move all this stuff and load it.
Yeah. I love how brisk it is this morning. The air is waking me up. So this is what happened. When I got the windows installed, it was like naked on the inside. And I just was so ignorant. I didn't realize that you had to paint it. So for years, it was just sort of like that naked wood. And then I finally painted it white, but it was a little bit too late. So obviously, it just started to rot. And then these windows, these casement windows, just would not close anymore, because when I would open them up, they would get, kind of moist or wet from the rain hitting them from the, and then over time they just bowed, and I've just been living with this for a while.
There you go.
Thank you, Scott, for doing all the man work.
Thank you for doing all the women work.
All the women work?
Ordering the windows and getting all the workers here.
Yeah, I've had a few different window people come out, and it's amazing how expensive these are. And finally, I just had Lowe's, home improvement. It was on back order, like everything, because of COVID. So it's been a while. So I got a call yesterday saying they're coming tomorrow. Like, okay. Luckily, we're self-employed, and luckily we can be home. Just got a call that the window people have canceled at the last minute. I guess one of the guys has a stomach bug. So, not sure. Do I go down to the studio, or do I stay home and do stuff? It's, how your days get kind of like jumbled because you rearrange everything? Of course I have a ton of yard work to do, but I also have a deadline that I'm debating. It's hard to be creative, when days and you just like, do I feel it? Do I not feel it? What do I do? All right, well, they're supposed to come. Today is Thursday, supposed to come on Monday now. So yesterday, which was Wednesday, not Thursday, I'm really losing it. I don't know if you guys completely lose track of days and times. So today is Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday when the window people canceled. I stayed home and did a bunch of stuff, errands and some other stuff. And today, I think I decided that I'm gonna take a break from this painting. I just don't think, I have so much to do the next couple of days, so I just don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it. And I've decided I'm gonna work on this painting. Kind of all over the place. I've changed my apron so that I feel like it's a springy color. I feel, sometimes I change my aprons or change things around when I feel like stagnant. So I'm gonna work on this today and see how it goes. Maybe it will be done by Monday, maybe it won't. I can't. Tomorrow I'm coming to do the OPA thing. show you behind the scenes about that. Sunday, we're having a bunch of people come to our studios before we ship our other paintings off, so I can't paint on Sunday. Monday, I have a doctor's appointment, an eye appointment. Saturday, I can come back, but I kind of like get that energy out of like working on that piece for too long and see about working on this piece. Okay. I hope you guys are having a great day. I feel like I'm going to be really positive. Listen to my Marie Antoinette. First, I have to download a video for Scott, and then I'll get to work. It's a beautiful spring day, and we're having a couple of friends come over to visit our studios before Scott packs up our paintings. There's our giant ugly solar panel, which I'm hoping to plant some like trees and things on this side so we don't see it. And Scott knocked down all these trees by himself. He watched YouTube videos. I think I showed you all the tools and stuff that because he was really nervous about winds and the trees kind of coming down on his studio. But holy cow, right? So there's our friend Donna. I've gone to her studio. Scott's explaining stuff to them about solar panels.
And that's one of mine. Yeah, go ahead and just step up there. And, yeah. So these are, I put these here because they're all of Maya. They're all of that same girl that we, Judy Myler told us about. I don't know if you have. Judy Myler, we painted her, I guess the first time we painted her was during the beginning of the shutdown, right?
I think so. Yeah, so, Anne knows her mom really well.
Yeah, and that's how we got her. She had posed in Greensboro for them.
And that would be considered what, sepia?
Well, it's just she's not completely sepia because she used a little bit of red, like in the lips and the thing, but it's mostly brown. You know, it's basically like a transparent oxide red, and she probably has a couple little colors in there. And that one's I just love these. They're so cool.
They are beautiful, and you've got a little different technique here.
Yeah, I'm playing around a lot with. I'm trying to do some things that are more two-dimensional in the backgrounds, with outlines and things, kind of like Muka and Klimt and things like that. And then the faces I'm doing realistic to make them look
it's just
even more realistic against the two-dimensional. Yeah. So that's kind of the idea.
Ready to go to your show?
These four are going to go to the Oklahoma City show, the National Cowboy and Western Museum, Heritage Museum, and it's the two on the top of my easel of Sue's. Those are also going to that show there.
Is this the one in June you were just talking about?
Yeah, so I have to pack them up and get them ready to ship off next week, so they'll be going off right after that because they do it real early, start to hang things. They're doing a whole book of all the paintings in the show.
Wow,
it's
so
like
they want to have time to get it out.
And this one, where did you start? I mean, how? Yeah,
this one here?
Yeah.
This was, this is actually I had done another powwow one where I used a lot of people, but I could probably show you on my phone. I might have pictures, but I took 3 days and I sketched the whole thing out. And it was really pretty much one photograph, and then I also added in these two figures in the foreground to give me something in the foreground. And I sketched it out in charcoal. Which I do a lot of times in these more complicated things. And it took me 3 days to draw the whole thing out, And I just wanted to kind of make sure I didn't have things going off or get everything right, get the sizes right and everything. And then I just started here, I think. I took some pictures in progress, started here, and then I just kind of moved around, and slowly started to move out from there until I got everything covered. And that probably took, I don't know, maybe another week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks. And when I had everything covered, Sue had actually come in and filmed me a little bit when I was doing it for her YouTube thing. And she's like, what more are you going to do? And I was like, I think I have another week to work on it, to go over everything, and work on the edges and the texture. And I ended up working on it probably 2 more weeks, and maybe even longer. And so I slowly then add layers, to all the textures and stuff. And so it was kind of fun. I wanted to do something kind of very abstract, and so it's kind of like, at first you just see the colors, and then you see what the things are.
Yeah, that's
You know?
because when I first looked, I just saw the closure, but then when I
It's
really
just
started looking, I
abstract.
could see the figures and
You
Yeah.
really,
And the challenge on this one is when I get to the very end, then it's balancing colors. And Sue helped me a lot with lots of suggestions on balancing out the blues and things. But like things like this is the only place in the photograph where it had this bright green.
right?
And that's something that the current times Native Americans love, some of these neon colors, which you don't see in older ones because they didn't have them, obviously, probably. So then I balanced it by adding it into, and this was a place where Sue said you need to add some in here because he is more the center of interest and it's not balancing. So I would add this in, and I add these greens, some greens here and here, just to balance it. And then I did the same thing with some of the blues. This was the only place where there was bright blue, and so I added some blue down here and some of these little spots. So you kind of go around that at the very end, and you balance things. So.
Brush.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's whimsical, and it's just her dress and her face.
Yeah. Sue helped me a lot with this one as well because I had worked on it a lot, but I had this really way too bright. And Sue was really great. She said, "Oh, you should probably tone this down more to like the brown colors," because I had it more like kind of purple and really light, and it really did help then because it made the face the more the center of interest. And this is another one where the longer you look at it, you'll start to see the things in the background. If you come close, you'll see, like you see the bird here, and then you see like these are like from this is like a little goat type creature like playing a flute. And there's another one down here, and these are things that I took from when we were in Bluff when I was on that trip. They had this wall all along this river. There was all these petroglyphs, like hundreds of them. They just found them too because they had just cut away branch
I see
trees.
more friends just showed up.
And so I used some of those.
So this painting is an older painting that Scott did from San Miguel Allende, and that is a painting that he did from Hanging Rock. So that is a waterfall in Lower Cascade Falls, and we got these two back from galleries. So I just opened them, and that painting over there is a watercolor that Scott did when we lived in Chicago. And so that was from the mid-90s, and that is of my niece, Erin.
Oh wow!
Isn't that beautiful? I know. I have to actually reframe it because the glass has gotten loose. But so yeah, hopefully my studio will get back to normal. And then these are some of the older pieces I've had, drawings and stuff in galleries that have like come back or.
Look at that one of you.
Yeah, isn't that nice? That's a lady who did that from me from a Zoom class.
Oh,
Isn't that sweet?
wow.
She
Yeah,
took that photo of me.
And you are definitely teaching right
Yeah, I'm teaching, I'm talking, and then I saw her when I went out and taught in Scottsdale Artist School, Ashwini, and she gave it to me. So that's sweet.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Hey, ladies.
Oh, that's
This used to be in Scott's studio, and I brought that in here. So
yeah, that's
But-
beautiful. Yeah. And I love the girl in the veil.
Oh yeah, that's
the pink.
Yes.
That's Scott did that of me. So he painted that probably about 15 years ago. And even 15 years ago, he made me look quite young. I remember when he did that.
Because you look so
And
ancient
I was
now.
like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I look like I'm like 13 or something.
That was
And that painting is from Italy. That's from Zen. We found the exact same spot that Sargent did his painting in
The, with the
San.
boat, the boat.
Yeah, the one on the right. The very far right.
Oh, yeah.
So we went and stayed at the same hotel that Sargent stayed at Lake Garda, and Scott stood in the same spot that Sargent painted in.
oh really? Oh,
And that's a poster of Norman Rockwell. That is a poster or a print of Richard Schmid.
Oh.
And some of these are other drawings that were done of me, and that's an older nude that Scott did a long time ago, and he hates it, and I love it, so I keep putting it out.
From the start, people see the finished painting, you're just like, oh, they just had this idea, and it's just right from the start. They don't realize how many times you change things, you start over, you get
I might get
frustrated,
one of
your
those
initial
too.
idea changes.
Are you
so
ready to
it's kind of interesting.
go along and just
Yeah,
we'll,
you can only
we'll
see
get
that
over
by
back
filming them.
and
So the window people showed up on Monday a few hours late because I think one of their cars broke down and the big window wasn't delivered. But at least it's... Oh, he's looking at me going, why is she videoing? Well, for fun and for posterity.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit heavier music. Yeah.
What thing Slipknot doesn't like green?
Oh yeah?
That was a hog.
I don't think my ears can handle that anymore. You guys, Rocky.
Scott's talking to the guys. They seem pretty nice, but he is double checking and he made them put a 2x4 at the bottom. Because that's the issue when you have these giant windows, it's the weight on the bottom, so you have to... They were just going to put foam, but if you guys ever put big windows, make sure to have a 2x4. This way they really have something solid to screw into. So he's just being friendly, but making sure they do it. Okay, so today I'm going to use Liquitex acrylic varnish. This is a satin varnish. Usually I use gloss, but I think satin will be fine. Sometimes Scott likes to use matte, and sometimes you like to mix it, right? You like to mix your matte and your satin to kind of in between, because your paintings are so thick. My paintings are pretty thin, so
Satin's already kind of a mix between,
yeah.
matte and glossy.
And so I personally like to use a brush on at the very end. During the paintings, I tend to use like a retouch varnish, or I mean, I have used just a regular spray Soluvar gloss. But okay, and then I'm gonna use this brush. Sometimes these brushes do the hairs come out, so I'll see if it's coming out while I'm doing it. I'll go get one of the sponge brushes. Another thing I wanted to, I don't think, so I want to talk about the canvas. Like this canvas is on a very hard kind of composite wood board. And this is raymarart.com. This is a Belgian linen L64C archival. It's a very smooth linen, and for me it takes a little bit of time to get used to it. This is on Clausen's portrait texture, and this is on sort of just a gator board, a foam core board. And I got this years ago. This is from windriverarts.com, and this is kind of worn out, but it should say C13, and that means Clausen's portrait because the portrait canvas is number 13. So let's just see what this looks like. So what I tend to do is I tend to kind of put my varnish along one edge, and then I just kind of, brush it like this so that you don't miss any part. And also, you don't want to put way too much varnish because otherwise it's just you waste, and you don't really need it to be super thick. So you see how I just kind of pour a little bit along an edge. And then I'll see how this brush goes. Hopefully none of the little hairs will come out. Always keep a paper towel because you never know if there's like a little bit of something that comes off from the brush or the canvas, in case it drips a lot. I put a piece of cardboard over this table also so that in case. And I kind of look at it like this, you kind of look at it from the angle so that you really see with a glare. So It's easy to miss spots. So it was interesting, as I was varnishing, we kind of thought about it afterwards. You know, Scott's studio isn't heated at night, so if it gets really chilly, what can happen is like a spray varnish or even a brush-on varnish can get a little bit cold. And just over the years, our experience in talking with framers also, that sprays and varnishes need to be kind of room temperature. So that's why we turned the heat on. We realized, we're like, you know what? We really do need to kind of have this room be warmer. I'm assuming, wait, okay, so the room when you turned it on was about 65 degrees, 66, but it has been chilly all night. So this is probably a little bit chillier than that. And also I'm just letting it dry flat and just being careful if there's any sort of hairs or any sort of these little bristles. Now this is just a throwaway brush. These are just things you buy at hardware stores or hobby, you know, any kind of hobby store. I don't try and clean them. Those sponge brushes are really awesome too. So I just I do long strokes so that I don't miss spots, and we're constantly doing this so we can see the glare. But I'll let it dry flat like this, and especially with the heat on, it should dry pretty evenly. But I just wanted to make sure you guys know that sometimes if you ever have problems with your sprays, make sure the spray is warmed up to probably at least 70 degrees, I would say. And I'm actually patting it a little bit on my paper towel just to make sure that I kind of take any excess off too. You have to make sure that you varnish your paintings, you know, well in advance of framing them, because you don't want the frame to stick to the corners. And so we'll probably pack this up in a day or two, but it will be dry completely by then. Okay. Make sure there's any spots I missed. Looks good. Warming the studio up really helped, and I can tell that they have dried completely flat, and the varnish looks pretty nice. So now what I have to do is Scott and I both, in these types of books, and I think I have about 3 of these, we number our paintings, title them, and sometimes I even put maybe a little description, because if you're painting the same model over and over again, you need to say, oh, Maya looking to the right with a red scarf, or definitely the size. Sometimes we also say where it's going, and I put the price. Okay, so now what I need to do is make sure on the back of the painting it's completely dry, so that's nice. I sign my name. Okay, sure. Okay, sure. You see how I put a C? So this is for copyright. This means I own the image of this painting. You can put the year if you want. I definitely put the title. So what did I title this? I titled this Flora because of all the flowers around her. And then, oil. I'm going to say on canvas. Oops. We have definitely made mistakes before. I'm not joking. I mean, I have misspelled the title before. It's so crazy. Okay, so Susan Lyon, Flora, oil on canvas. This is a 12 by 16 inch. One thing I also like to do, and it's because I don't like my signatures to be super glaring, really, really bright. So you can see in the upper right-hand corner, that's where I signed my name. From far away, you can't really tell, and I've actually had a painting shipped back to me because the collector didn't think I signed it. So now, every single time, I say where it's signed. So lots of times I sign it in usually the upper right or upper left. It just depends. Signed, upper right corner. Okay, so that way they know to look up there. Okay, cool. So now I have to do it for this painting also. Sign the back and say where it's signed. I signed this one with all the information, and I also added the number. So this is the number in my book. So in the future, for any kind of posterity, you're keeping paintings straight. The number next to my name is a really good idea. Now I'm going to put the painting into the frame. When you get canvas already adhered to boards like this, it's pretty great. I mean, in the old days, we used to stretch canvas. You see all those stretcher bars? Remember, they used to be all over Scott's floor, and he kind of put them together. What happens with stretched canvas is that it can bubble. You know, for humidity, dry air, when you're shipping paintings around, the canvas can arrive somewhere and actually have like a little bubble in it. When it's adhered to these boards, it's really great, and especially a board like this. It's super duper strong. I mean, a pitchfork, nothing really can kind of get through that. So what now it is I use this. It's a framing tool. Kind of see how you pull it up like this, and you put these points in. They're called framer points, and you do this. I'll show you. So I laid the painting flat, and you can almost see in the frame that they have this little bit of a ridge. So sometimes canvases can be put on foam core that might be a 1/2 inch thick or something. And because this is raised a little bit, you can still use the points, but this is pretty thin and it's gonna fit in here perfectly. You just lay this down flat and you kind of, and that's what it looks like. It's a little framing point, and it goes in about 1/4 of an inch. And so you kind of do one on every side first. And then you just space them. You kind of want to put a whole bunch, because in shipping, things can be jostled around, or a gallery can, put the painting on the floor, and things can be jostled around a little bit. So I would say probably you put maybe 3 or maybe 4 or 5 on the long, and maybe 4 on the short, and that's totally enough. And now what I'm going to do is put wire, hanging hooks here, and then I'm going to drape wire across here so that when they hang it on the wall, it hangs flat. I used one of these D hooks that only has one hole. For a painting this size, this is perfectly fine. The screws are, I'm going to say, about 1/4 of an inch. I'm not exactly sure what size they are, but they don't need to go that deep. I always put my screws and hooks in the thicker part of the frame, either on the outside, but they have a pretty thick part in the inside too. I try to stay away from putting them somewhere in the center panel, because this can be a thinner part of the wood and I don't want the screw to come through. I'm using a wire. This is a pretty thin wire. I got this from United Manufacturers. It says number 5. I mean, it's pretty thin and it's easy to cut, it's easy to bend, and it's a great overall wire, probably for anything up to 16 by 20 inch painting. What I did though was I actually did double it up. So you see how I made sure that these are equal distance, and then I doubled up the wire and I put it through, and now what I do is I twist and I twist and I twist so that it tightens it on either side. And then when it hangs on the wall, you don't want it to go too high. But wire is the best thing. Try not to use like string or anything that's too flimsy, and over time can kind of stretch out. So that's what it looks like when it's finished. You can kind of try and make it as neat as you want, but nobody will ever see that. Sometimes people will actually put a piece of foam core back here or paper. I personally like to show people what I've written, so for provenance and stuff. Now, this particular frame is from, I think it's called Masterworks Frames. I think that they're in Utah. I really love the kind of the timelessness of this arch. This is a mixture of like a kind of a warm silver, a pewter. The frame itself is probably about a 5-inch right here. A little bit kind of a distressed, kind of warm black frame with a kind of, it has red underneath. So there's like a red clay, and then it's just, you know, it has like a warm pewter silver. I think it goes well with this warmish painting, because if I used gold, it would just be too much. Meaning too warm. The frame, I'm gonna say, I can't remember exactly, but you know, this is a 12-inch by 16-inch painting. I'm gonna say this frame was anywhere between $250 to $300, and that is the, you know, that's the thing. You're getting a custom frame, and so, you know, I have to pay for shipping back to me, and then I have to pay for shipping to whatever gallery, and then the packing and crating. So that's why we have so much of this junk everywhere. You know, we're hoping to build something onto Scott's Studios this summer so we can get a lot of this out of here. But that's the job of being an artist. There is a lot of cost that happens before the painting ever goes out. We have to take photographs of it. We have to archive it. You know, there's a lot that you need to know as an artist. It's not just about painting. So Scott is such a Speedy Gonzales. I told him, oh my gosh, by the time I woke up this morning, he's like, oh, I'm packing all the paintings. I'm like, wait, I wanted to show people what we have to do. So for this big show in Oklahoma, they give us these sheets, and you have to fill everything out and put them on the back of the paintings, because this show will have 300 or more paintings, so they have to keep things organized. And then we have to literally pack up each painting individually. You cannot pack paintings together. So this adds to the cost. So see how Scott takes cardboard and he wraps it around the painting, so it's almost like a box within a box.
Yeah.
And then he uses this stuff, which is this cling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just rolls
Instead
out.
of tape. It's a great way to like kind of.
It makes it easier for the museum or anybody else to just cut these. Tape is so hard to take apart. So I wrap it in cardboard first, and I have it just come over the edge, so that gives a little more room on the corners to protect the corners. And then I put a garbage bag, just a regular garbage bag, and put it over the whole thing. And then I wrap the garbage bag at the end, and I tape
That's
that.
for water protection during
Yeah.
shipping.
Because if like these are the cardboard box ones, if they get really wet, you know, it'll still be protected. It won't let any water seep into it.
I just wanted to let people know how many steps there are. So not only doing the painting, framing the painting, taking photographs of the painting. Every single painting has to have an individual box or crate. They do even want crates. Crates are very expensive. Scott does make our crates, or we hope to have framers
Larger
make the
paintings
crates.
when you need them,
Every single painting has to have one of these things put on the back of it, and that's what happened. Is he cut down these bigger boxes and that we've already had shipped to us, and he, you know, it's a big job, so he has to size them for this particular painting.
Right.
And then all this bubble wrap, but
And then you can see the rolls of bubble wrap over here. So what I do on this one is I just roll the painting in the bubble wrap the long way and then the short way, so that it's the right height here.
how
And
many
then
inches? Is that about 4 or 5 inches of bubble wrap?
high?
Yeah. Well, I mean, on outside of the painting.
This has got about, this probably has about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, probably 2 inches on these sides here. This has more on the long side. So 3 inches would probably be what you'd need if everything fit exactly.
But that's actually packed within a box too.
That's the box, just like that one. It's the same size as that one. And so then it's wrapped in bubble wrap, and I actually put an extra piece of cardboard at the bottom of it. And then, because this has more width on the side, these corners are the main thing that are a problem with boxes, because they're usually going to get damaged when they drop them on the corners.
Well,
So
also,
if you have it come right to the corner, that's when your frame is going to damage. So if you even if it's tighter here, if you leave enough room on this side, the corners get smashed in, and it's still not going to affect the actual frame.
That's the issue, is that we don't really insure our paintings. It's just it's not worth it. So you have to make sure that the box or crate is completely packed well. Because especially with crates, shipping companies will use those pitchfork things. What are those called? Where you, a car, like a
Right,
tractor.
Yeah.
Whatever, they pick things up metally with
Right.
with like metal forks.
Yeah,
and
forklifts,
and those can go through paintings.
Yeah.
And that's why I was talking about having your paintings put on that Diabond or like super hard backing. I have had a painting where a pitch thing went through the canvas, and then you have to have it repaired.
This box here came from Arcadia, a painting that I got back, Maya with sunflowers, and obviously something heavy had gone all the way through that.
Or
And-
a corner of another box.
Corner of their box, but it went through hard enough that luckily that one was painted on a board. This one of
Yeah, and I want to see how
it
you
is.
can put things saying "do not fragile," "do not lay flat."
But they can still get damaged. We haven't had many things get damaged, but this happened. So this actually went through and hit the front. Even though the painting had cardboard, it hit the painting, and it popped it out of the corner things. Luckily, it was
The
canvas that was out of the frame. It was canvas that was adhered already to a board. Those Centurion ones. If it had been on canvas, it probably would have poked through the canvas. When I have to ship it off to the Portrait Society, that painting of Maya with sunflowers, I'm actually going to wrap it in cardboard, and because it's bigger and I don't have a crate for it, and I'm going to just cut this to be the same size as the front and back, and I'm going to just put some
And what is this?
wood.
This is like a masonite?
This is like kind of a masonite, and then I'll have another thin plywood, which I'll put on the front and back, because that'll make it like a crate then.
Well,
so
and a
inside
museum
of it.
shows, and even the Prix de West, they do want crates. And
For anything
well,
large,
they
require
do
crates.
suggest it.
Yeah.
We are maybe slightly not playing by the rules by putting this in these boxes, but it's
Well,
just
these are all within the size that they can go in boxes.
true.
So,
but we
36
are
by
pushing it a
36 is
little
what's
bit
above it.
because they do want crates, and this is the issue with paintings and shows. So that's another added expense to have a crate made or to buy all the materials. It could be
Right.
another $100-$200
Right.
just for the crate. Then sometimes when you get your painting back, they don't ship it back to you in the same crate. And that is one of our issues, is that we send galleries and shows really good crates or boxes. Wait. And then they put them in something that's not so good
Right, they
and
send
ship it back to
So
us.
I custom make the box
And
crate for them, and then we get it back and something.
It's
junky, yeah.
it's something that we have no control over, and they just blow us off about. So it's a
Really.
hard thing to deal with.
This painting is 36 by 36 inches, and so with the frame, I think it's like a 1.5 inch frame. So with the frame, this is above the 36, because the Prix de West requires it be in a wood crate if it's above 36 inches. And so the other ones, this one is just under that, so that's going to go in a cardboard box, but this
But you'll
again-
use masonite to help the
Yeah,
strength.
and I'll reinforce it. But this one, the framer, Montgomery Frames, is sending me a frame. And the same with AU. When I have them for the museums, I have them send it in a wood crate so that it's already made. But then the other ones I just have to make.
We definitely put fragile, and we say, please don't lie flat. We do all the things we possibly can do. And it's just, it takes about 3 or 4 days just to do all of this. People don't realize how much time consuming it is. A lot of times when they're really big, we have to have a shipping company come pick it up from our house. Luckily, these are all ones that we can put in my minivan and take to a FedEx drop-off box. Because it's cheaper. If we have them picked up from our house, it's more expensive because we have to pay that fee.
The only ones that are cheaper are the very large crates. I have some really big paintings that are like 200 pounds. And those...
No, I mean
go
it's
through the
cheaper
shipping
for
company.
us to drop them off at FedEx location.
Right.
But yeah, if we're using a big shipping thing, then you get an account with them, and they come with their big semi truck.
Right.
And then they charge you if you're a business or a residential. There's so many hidden costs.
Yeah. Now, shipping is very expensive.
Yeah, so Scott's doing to his paintings what I showed you that I did yesterday to my paintings, putting the wire on.
So this one I
And-
have to varnish still, and It had been wired
Oh,
horizontally.
okay. You're not going to varnish it in the frame, but
No, I'm just putting the wire on now.
Oh, and this
And-
we can show.
Then I will varnish it. Yeah.
So this is AU frames. They're kind of a specialty, and it's just a one-man guy. So he doesn't do frames for everybody. He only does them for specific people.
Beautiful work.
But
Yeah.
we're pretty lucky that
Yeah.
he does them for Scott. All right, thanks, Scott. I just wanted to make sure that
Thanks for visiting.
when I woke up and I'm like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're already have packed
I've already
a
been
bunch of
working
stuff.
on here for a couple hours, getting
Oh
those
gosh.
boxes and starting to.
I slept for 12 hours last night because I didn't sleep well the night before. So I do help Scott do this sometimes. He's doing it on his own today. We're also waiting for the window people to come back. So Scott brought 3 of the boxes inside and wrote fragile on them. And on every package you have to write the title, the artist, the size of the package, and how much the package weighs. And then Scott will go into the computer, write every single package up, and FedEx get a label for every single package, and then the next day or two we will drive them to the FedEx drop-off location. The window guys just finished, and just enough time. I think it's supposed to get a big storm in a couple hours. But one thing I'm really surprised is that they didn't actually have to
Pretty darn nice.
cut any of this. I'm just so surprised that none of the actual wall had to be cut. Isn't that amazing how it just fit right in?
Yeah, this stuff here was all still here. So this is the window. So this butts up underneath there. So all this stuff stayed, and this just goes in and sits flush against this.
No, this stuff is new. This is new.
Oh, this is new. Oh, you're
yeah,
right.
everything was rotted.
Right.
And then I'll have to paint this.
Oh, right. Of course, this
It's hard
is
to
new
tell, but this is natural, so I'll paint this white. But I was just surprised that this edge didn't have to
Right.
be changed.
because this overlaps it, right?
But it's nice to have this big window. It's definitely more impressive. I just have to get blinds now. They're so expensive, but just in time. It would be bad if like they didn't finish, and we'd have to put a big piece of plastic over the windows in case
This
it was
is much
raining.
nicer because
Yeah.
you only need the air coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
Your other one's opened up all the way to the top, which
Yeah.
you don't really need to have that big
Yeah.
course. That's easier to fail.
No, this will be
Really
nice.
cool. They
Definitely.
did a great job.
They did do a good job. They're there. They're leaving. So luckily, they did bring this stuff. It's like a plastic sheeting that covers all of that open. So that's really nice. We have to come back in here and like patch up some of this wood. This building has to be repainted constantly. Plus, I get these wood bees, these carpenter bees that want to like eat my building up alive. This is the north side. So the north side of any building gets the little bit of like that mildew. So we also have to get it pressure washed and, patch up wood. It's just anything with a wood building. That's what happens. But I'm very happy it's in. I've been waiting for about 5 months. We ordered these in November, and they're finally here. It's April 4th or 5th. So